Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, what we are going to focus on is some multiple choice questions, and these questions are related to relations, functions, and graphs. Let's begin. Which of the following represents the graph of a function? Now, for us to determine which one of these options is a function, what we have to do is a vertical test. And the aim of a vertical line test is to just draw a straight line through each graph, Now, if the straight line intersects each graph only once, then it is considered to be a function. So if you start with A here and we draw a straight line through any point of it, you'll realize that this straight line that I draw intersects this graph at two different points. Intersected at that point that I put a 0 and this point. So therefore, this is not a function. If we do it for this one, and we do a vertical line test, then it also intersected twice. So therefore, it is not a function. We do it for the circle here, and we draw a line there. Then it intersected twice as well. So therefore, this is not a function. If we do it for our last option here, and we draw it, it only intersects this line once. Anywhere we draw it on this line, it will intersect it once. So therefore, this is a function. So our answer is going to be D. Next question. In the graph above, the straight line PQ cuts the y-axis at, we're looking for, this is a straight line PQ, and it intersects the y-axis at 2 here. All right? So it intersected at y equal 2. Now, what's the point here? So y is equal to 2. That's where it intersected. But what's the x component? The x component is going to be 0. So the point at which it cuts it, note that we plot points. For any point P, we plot it in the form x, comma, y. So therefore, this point is going to be 0, comma, 2. So our answer here is going to be C. And be very careful when you're given a question like this, because you can easily choose D as the answer as a mistake. So always remember that it's the x component first, then the y component. All right. In the graph above, the straight line AB cuts the x-axis at. So we have the straight line AB. This is the x-axis right here. So where does the line intersect it? It intersected right at this value here, where x is equal to 4. What's the corresponding y component? When x is equal to 4, y is going to equal to 0. There's no movement, right? So the point is going to be 4, comma, 0. So which option is that? 4, comma, 0 is going to be B. All right. In the graph above, the gradient of KL is, there are 2 ways to do this problem, all right? So we want to find the gradient of KL, which is the slope of the line. What we can do is that we know that the gradient is going to equal to the change in y over the change in x. So here, if we bring this down like that and bring this point across like that, then this area here horizontally would represent the change in x, right? So you can see that x here, if you carry down this point down here, then that will take you to 1. If you carry down this point all the way down like that, it will take you to 7. So what is the distance from this point here to this point? That's what's going to be 7 minus 1, which is going to be 6 units, right? Now, if we do the same idea, if we bring this point across, then it takes us to this value, which is 2. And if we bring this point across as well, it will take us to this value, which is 4. And what's the difference between those two values? That's 4 minus 2, which would be 2 here, right? So that's 2 units. That's what we know. So we are saying that the gradient is the change in y over the change in x. So the change in y is 2 and the change in x is 6. So the gradient, right, which is m, the gradient is going to equal to 2 over 6. And 2 over 6 can be reduced to a smaller fraction, which is just 1 over 3. All right. So we can see that our answer is going to be C here. But that's one way in doing this problem. We could also use the points that were given, the endpoints of the line, to determine the gradient, where we'd use this formula to see that gradient, which is m, is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Now, what is the coordinate of point K? You can see that point K has a coordinate of 1, 2. So we could write that on. That's just 1, 2 for point K. And for L, that's just 7, 4. So 7, 4. Now, all we need to do is to identify which one we're going to call x1, y1, and which one we're going to call x2, y2. So for the first value here, we're going to call this 7 x1. So if 7 is x1, that means 4 is going to be y1. That means down here now, 1 would be x2 and 2 would be y2. So all we have to do is to substitute these values into our formula and simplify. So we can see that y2 here is just 2, so it's going to be 2 minus y1, which is 4, all over x2. x2 is going to be 1 minus y1, sorry, x1, which is just going to be 7. Then we subtract. What is 2 minus 4? That's going to leave us with negative 2 over 1 minus 7. That's going to leave us with negative 6. Then we reduce this, the negative will cancel the negative, and 2 over 6 is the same thing as 1/3, right? So you see both methods would give us the same answer. To our next problem, the number line above represents the inequality. Let's investigate the number line. Note here at 3, you have a circle around, which is not shaded. What we call this circle is, we call this circle an open circle, right? And also there's another open circle here. Now, when you have open circle, it means that these two values are not a part of your solution. That's what it means. So open circle means the values are not a part of your solution. Now, when you look at option A, the line underneath the inequality symbol means equal to. So if open circle means that these values are not a part of my solution, then A is not an option. Also, when you look at option B, you see another line under the inequality symbol suggests equal to. An open circle means that those values are not a part of our solution. So we know that B is not going to be the answer either. And C is the same thing. It has a line underneath the inequality sign. So therefore, C is not going to be the answer. So the answer here is going to be D. And as you can see here, you can see the part that is bold. It is greater than -3, but at the same time, it is less than +2. So x is greater than -3 and x is less than 2 is the answer. All right. For our next question, if f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 1, then f of -1 is equal to, what we know is that f of -1 is going to equal to this part of the function. So anywhere you see x, you're replacing it with -1. So it's going to be 3. When you're doing the substitution, you must use a bracket. So it's going to be bracket, replace the x with -1. Remember to put back your square and put your subtract 1. Then you're going to simplify using your order of operation. So we must do the bracket part first. So -1 squared, that's going to leave us back with us 3 times a +1 minus 1. And 3 times 1, that's just 3 minus 1. And 3 minus 1 will leave us with 2. So therefore, f of -1 is going to equal to 2, and that option is C here. The gradient of a straight line 2y equal minus 5x plus 7 is, before we can state the gradient of this line, we need to write this line in the general form. What's the general form? General form is y equal mx plus c, where m is the gradient, right? So this is the form that they give us, which is 2y is equal to minus 5x plus 7. How can we get this equation into that form? We can just divide both sides by 2. So if we divide this side by 2 and divide this side by 2, then you can see that 2 will cancel out 2. That leaves us with y. And each term in the numerator is divided by 2. So negative 5x, or this can be rewritten as negative 5 over 2x plus 7 over 2. Now, note that in the original format, m is the gradient, right? So what is m here? M is going to be this value, which is negative 5 over 2. So that's the gradient. So from here, we can see that m is going to equal to negative 5 over 2, which is the slope of the line. Which option is that? Negative 5 over 2, that's going to be A. The graph of y equals 6x minus x squared is shown above. The maximum point of y equals 6x minus x squared is, the maximum point is going to be the turning point of the graph. So the maximum point is the highest point on the graph, which is going to be right here. All right. And note that the turning point of the graph, shared graph, is symmetric. Is where the graph splits into equal halves, right? So that point there is the highest point. So all they want us to do is to read the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So if you draw a line from that point coming down, it takes us to this value, which is 3, when x is 3. And if we draw a line going across like that, it takes us to this value, which is 9. So remember, you plot point, any point, on a Cartesian plane in the form x, comma, y. So which means that we must take the x component first. So the x component here is 3, so it's going to be 3, comma, the y component, which is 9. So that's the maximum point of this graph. So which option is that going to be? That option here is going to be D. As you can see, 3, 3, 9. All right. If h of x equals 5x minus 4, all divided by 11, then h of negative 8 is, all this is saying where you see x, replace it with negative 8 and simplify. So we can say that h of negative 8 is going to equal to 5 times x. But what is x? X is negative 8 here. So it's negative 8 minus 4. All of that divided by 11. All you need to do is to follow your order of operation and simplify. So 5 times negative 8, that's going to give us negative 40 minus 4 over 11. And negative 40 minus 4, that's going to give us negative 44 divided by 11. And negative 44 divided by 11 will give us negative 4. So for our next question, we are given a mapping diagram. And it says the arrow diagram above represents the function. Now we are given these 4 options. So what we are going to do is to test starting from A to C, which one of these represent the arrow diagram up here. So if we are starting off with option A, right, which is f of x here is equal to 2x minus 3. What we're going to do is to sub each of these values when x is equal to 2, when x is equal to 3, when x is equal to 5, when x is equal to 7, and see what it maps onto. All right? So let's start with the first one. If, let's find f of 2. So if f of 2 would equal to 2 times 2 minus 3. And what's 2 times 2 minus 3? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 3 is going to give us 1. Right? So when x is 2, it maps on to 1. Let's do it for the third one. Let's find f of 3. So f of 3 would equal to 2 times 3 minus 3. What's 2 times 3? That's going to be 6. And what's 6 minus 3? That's going to leave us back with 3. All right? So for the first two that we did already, realize that each number that we plugged in mapped onto each number over here. So let's continue to see what will happen. If we plug in f of 5, what we're going to get? We're going to get 2 times 5 minus 3. What is 2 times 5? 10 minus 3, that's going to give us 7. So 5 is mapped onto 7, which is what they have there. And then f of 7, let's find that one. Find that one, it's going to be 2 times 7 minus 3. What's 2 times 7? That's 14. What's 14 minus 3? That's going to give us 11. So we don't need to test anymore. Obviously, we can see that for every x value we plug into option A, the corresponding y value is each y value over here. So our answer is going to be A. Which of the following set is represented by the relation f of x maps onto x squared plus 1? So we need to determine which one. Now, what you can see, the first component here are, for each of them, are the same, right? So if you notice here, if we look for option A, they start off with 0. They start off with 0 for option B, 0 for option C, 0 for option D. When you look at the second one that comes, all of them are 1. All of them are the same. So you can see that all the x components are the same, right? All the x components. So what we're going to do is to plug these values that I highlighted into the function and see what it maps onto. And whichever one that it maps onto, then we choose that as our answer. So the first thing that we're going to do is to plug 0 in there. So if we want to find f of 0, right? So let's write back the function first. So we know that f of x is mapped onto x squared plus 1. That's what we know. So we're saying that, all right, when f of x, when f of 0, what does 0 map onto? 0, we're just going to replace x squared with 0. So that becomes 0 squared plus 1. What 0 squared plus 1? That's going to equal to 1. So 0 is mapped onto 1. But as you notice, all the options over here have 0, 1. Right? So the first one is going to be 0, 1. That's what we know. Let's do it for the second one now. So we want f of 1 now maps onto. So we want to know what 1 maps onto. Replace x squared with 1. So it's going to be 1 squared. Remember to put back a plus 1 and work out this. So 1 squared is 1 plus 1. That's going to give us 2. Right? So this is going to give us 2. So what we are saying, when x is 1, then y is going to be 2. So that's the second one that we must have. Right? When you look at the option here, for option A is 1, 3. For option B, it's 1, 2, which is the value that we get. For option C, it's 1, 3. And for option D is 1, 4. We could stop here and choose B as our answer. But for safety, let's do one more to make sure in case we made a mistake in our calculation. So we're going to do f of 2 now. So when x is 2, what does this thing map down to? So when x is 2, replace x squared with 2. So it's going to be 2 squared plus 1. And then we simplify that. 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 plus 1, that's going to be 5. So what we're saying here, when x is 2, then the y component is going to be 5. So that's going to be the next one there. Which one has 2, 5? All of them have 2, 5. So we would know. But anyway, let's do the last one then. So when x now is 3, what does it map onto? So when x is 3, then we plug this into the function. It's going to be place x with 3. So it's going to be 3 squared plus 1. What's 3 squared plus 1? 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 plus 1 is going to be 10. So what we are saying here, when x is 3, y is going to be 10. So it's going to be 1, 0, 1, 2, 2, 5, and 3, 10. Which one is that? That one is option B. So this is the answer. All right. So here we are given a number line with an inequality represented on it. So it says the graph of the inequality in the diagram above is defined by, what do we know? We have an open circle. So let's put open here. And here, what we have when the circle is shaded, we call it a closed circle. Okay. So we're going to put close here. Now, when the circle is closed, it means that 5 here is going to be a part of the answer. Where it opens, it means that -4 is not a part of the answer. So as you know, this black part, the shaded part of it, so we are saying the value goes up close to 4, like maybe 3.999999999, but it never goes to -4. So it's -3.999. So which one of these is really the answer? When you look at it here, you can see when you compare when you compare everything to -4, 3 here is greater than -4. -2 is greater than -4. And -1 is greater than -4. All the numbers going this direction. But when we reach at 5 now, you can see that 5 is equal to 5. But 4 now is less than 5. 3 is less than 5. So you can see the inequality coming out there. We are looking for the one that is going to say x is greater than -4. Now let's read the first option. It says x here is greater than -4 and x is less than 5. But there's a shaded circle here, a closed circle, and it means that that is a part of the answer. So there's no line underneath this equals inequality symbol. So therefore A is not the answer. Now there's only one closed circle here. That means only one value should be equal to. For option B, you have two inequality symbols with a line underneath it. So that is not the answer either. Now, for option C, it says x is greater than -4 and x is less than or equal to 5. So let's double check. That's the answer there. So C is the answer here. And you can see that D would never be the answer because it says x is greater than or equal to -4. And for it to equal or greater than or equal to -4, then the circle would have to be closed here. So it would have to be shaded. So you can see that D is not the answer either. To our next question, it's another inequality question. It says the graph of the inequality in the diagram above is defined as here. What do you have? You have a closed circle here. So it is closed there and it is also closed here. So once it's closed there, it means that -3 is a part of your answer and 4 is a part of your answer because it is telling you that it is equal to 4 and it is also equal to -3. So we want one. We are looking for the option that has both inequality symbol with a line underneath it. All right. So as you can see that the numbers -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 are all greater than -3. But you can see that -3 is also equal to -3. And you can see if you look from 4 coming down, you can see that 3, 2, 1, 0, -1. They are all numbers that are less than 4, and 4 is also equal to itself. So would A be the answer? No, it would not be the answer here because you can see it is not accounting that this circle is closed. It is saying that x is greater than -3. So A would not be the answer. Would B be the answer here? It is now accounting for the fact that it closed at 3, but it is saying it is open at 4, which is not true because it is closed. So B is not the answer either. For this one, for option C, it says x is greater than -3 and x is less than 4. What is this suggesting? Suggesting that the graph opens at both 3 and 4, and that is not true. It is closed. So therefore, C cannot be the answer. So the answer for this is going to be D, because as you can see there, it says x is either greater than or equal to -3 and x is less than or equal to 4. Which of the following arrow diagram illustrate a function? All right. Now, let's look. What do we know about function? We know that 1 to 1 is a function. And we also know that many to 1 is a function. So these are the two scenarios. So we are looking for any one of these scenarios into these diagrams. So when we look at the first one here, we can see that this point down here is going to 2 different values. So this is saying 1 to many. So therefore, A is not going to be the answer. When you look at B, look at this point here. This one point is mapped onto two different points over here. It is mapped onto that one and it is mapped onto this one. That's one to many. So therefore, this is not the answer. When you look at C and you look at this point here, it is both mapped onto the first point over here and the last point. That's another one to many again. So that means this is not a function. Now, when you look at the last option, you see that this point is mapped onto only one point here. You see that a different point over here is mapped onto one point over here. And you see another point up here is mapped onto the same point here. So what do you see? You see many to one. So therefore, many to one is a function. So our answer here is going to be D. If f of x is equal to x squared plus x minus 1, then f of negative 4 is, it's a matter of substituting this negative 4 into this part of the function. So what we're going to say is that, all right, f of negative 4 is going to equal to, replace x squared with negative 4, but you must use a bracket. So you're going to put a bracket, put your negative 4. Remember to put back your square, then put your plus, open a bracket, put your negative 4, and then put your subtraction sign, which is 1. Follow the order of operation and simplify. So we're going to deal with the powers first. Negative 4 squared means negative 4 times negative 4. Right? That's what it means. So negative 4 times negative 4, that's going to give us a positive 16. So this is just 16. Then we have two signs here. So we have positive times negative going to give us a negative. So that's going to give us a negative 4 minus our 1 here. All right. Then we're working the question from left to right. So we're going to do these two first. So 16 minus 4, that's going to leave us with 12. Bring back down our minus sign here and put back our 1. So 12 minus 1, that's going to leave us with 11. So we are therefore saying f of negative 4 is equal to 11. Which option is that? That's going to be C. For this question, we have a function, right? And it says the graph of y equal x squared minus 4x is shown above. The minimum point of y equal x squared minus 4x is, minimum point is the lowest point on the graph. So as you can see here, where this point is, it's going to be the minimum point of this graph. So what they are asking you for is the x component of this point and the y component. So let's draw a little broken line from here going up to the x-axis. You see that that will take you to this value, which is 2. And if you draw a horizontal line from the point going across to the y-axis, it will take you to this value, which is negative 4. Now, all you need to remember that points are plotted in the form x, comma, y, any point on the Cartesian plane. So the point at this point here at the minimum value is going to be the x component first, which is 2, comma, the y component, which is negative 4. All you need to do is to search for this answer in the option. So it is going to be 2, negative 4, which is going to be C. All right. The relationship that best describes the mapping in the above diagram is, these are the different relationships that we have down here. So let's look at the diagram here to see. This point here is mapped onto this point down here, right? We have this point mapped in onto this one, and also this point mapping onto the same one. So that's look like many to one there. So you have many elements, more than one elements in the x going on to one element in the y. That's not the only case where we have that. We also have this point here goes on to that, and this one also goes on to that. So that's more than one point going on to a single point over here. And also we have this point going on to this one. And also we have a different point going on to the same point. So you can see many to one right there. So we are going to look for that option, many to one, that's out. One to many, that's out. Many to one, that's the answer. And many to many is also out. All right. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment.